tutti, thank you very much for coming down. Sono molto felice di essere qui in Milano for everyone. We've got some great songs, grandi canzoni for you tonight, and we're going to start off with this one. It's called My Kind of Girl. She walks like an angel walks, and she talks like an angel talks. Well, have a kind of girl. She's my kind of girl, and she's wise.
Because I grew up in a household, because my father was a big fan of Sammy Davis Jr. and Dean Martin and that kind of stuff. So I didn't listen to jazz as a kid, so I listened to more of the singers, you know, Frank Sinatra, Dean Martin, and some rock and roll stuff too, like 50s old-style rock and roll. And yeah, that's how I really developed the original love for the music, you know.
With that pretty little face, that face just knocks me off my feet. Her pretty little feet, she's a really sweet, enough to eat, and she looks like an angel looks.
Well, I've played with Little Richard, the rock and roll piano player and singer. I played with Van Morrison, jammed with Van Morrison. I've played with some great people from the Count Basie band, Al Gray and Buddy Tate, tenor sax and trombone player. I've played with Sam Butera, Louis Prima's saxophone player. And I can't remember who else. I think maybe some more, but I can't remember now. Early 80s, we had a band called the Chevalier Brothers. We were just beginning musicians, really. We just only played for a few years, but I got very inspired by the guitar player, who was a French guy, who really taught me about Charlie Christian and Benny Goodman and Django Reinhardt and a lot of the jazz from the 40s. So he was a big influence on my playing. And we really were the first people in London to sort of make people aware of swing music, young kids like college kids, which was about 1982, 83. We weren't really good musicians, but we were studying hard to learn to play, you know, so that's what happened. Renato Carnazon, Fred Busglione, I like that very much. I learned about that music from coming here, you know. I didn't, because in England we're not aware of those people. We just don't hear about them. So Claudio Villa, is it, as well? Yeah, I like very much. But the original influence was by the Italian-American musicians. Sinatra, Dean Martin, people like that, Victor Moan, I like that kind of thing. A lot of the sax players like Charlie Ventura were Italian-Americans, so it all kind of made sense to me, you know, when I came here.
When you're smiling, when you're smiling, and the whole world smiles with you. When you're laughing, and the sun when you're crying. You bring.
Well, it's not my name. It was really given to me by this French musician I was telling you about. More as a joke, but it was over 20 years ago, so it's become my name now. Well, as this great run at the Blue Note shows, it's a very good one, very warm, and I guess Italy is like a second home to me. Well, I've done the residency for 7 years at Umbria Jazz. It's just a great experience, playing every night to very
Really a very similar relationship. I mean, the relationship between us and the record company is very similar. It's still a cooperative, collaborative relationship. It doesn't make us more separate from them or make them less interested in our music. It's and probably everybody ends up making the same money and everything else. It's just that years from now, we as artists don't have to worry about the possibility that at some point
our CDs will be out of print.
Right.
They'll
right.
disappear.
Nobody can get it.
Yeah, we can control that.
I remember to a distant bell and stars that fell like the rain out of the blue. When my life is through and the angels ask me to recall the thrill of them all, then I shall tell them I remember you.
Before we took this tour, Milan's the second date of a 6-week Europe tour, and we just finished recording. It's a Great American Songbook recording, all classic recordings, and we're calling it I Remember You. And so it's Duke Ellington tunes, Rodgers and Hart, who else? I mean, Gershwin, Johnny Mercer, so those kinds of tunes. It's really something we talked about doing for a long time, and we never really did, and finally got around. We maybe have 1 or 2 of those songs on past CDs, but to do an entire album of that kind of work. In some ways, although it's not a complete with Ella and Joe in mind, but it definitely has a tribute feeling towards Ella Fitzgerald and Joe Pass. So it's that kind of a statement for us.
Open up your heart and sing it out. Open up your heart and sing it out. How long will you love? Open up your heart and sing it, sing it. How long will you give? We'll be loving you always. 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 How long will you give? How long will you touch?